There's something we don't talk about enough when it comes to growing older, and that's sleep. Not just closing your eyes, but real, deep, healing rest. My neighbor, Mrs. Thompson, she's 78, told me the other day that she hasn't slept through the night in years. She used to drift off to the sound of the wind in her backyard maple tree. Now she wakes up at 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, wondering why she feels so tired every morning. And she's not alone. Across Europe and America, millions of seniors are quietly suffering through restless nights, not knowing that poor sleep might be damaging their heart, their memory, even their will to live. In this episode of Elderly Reflections, we're going to talk about the importance of sleep after 65. We'll look at science, real-life stories, and what elderly wisdom teaches us about rest, not just as a habit, but as a foundation for longevity, clarity, and peace. So if you're listening now, take a deep breath, make yourself comfortable, and stay with me. And hey, if this feels like the kind of conversation you want more of, go ahead and subscribe. Turn on that little bell so you never miss a story that might just help you sleep a little better tonight. First, poor sleep damages memory and increases dementia risk. You see, when we sleep, the brain does something remarkable. It clears out waste proteins and refreshes memory centers like the hippocampus. Without that process, the brain slowly clogs, connections weaken, and confusion sets in. That's not just my opinion, it's proven science. Research from Boston University showed that during deep sleep, cerebrospinal fluid flows through the brain like a tide, clearing toxins linked to Alzheimer's. Now let me tell you about Helen. She was a retired French teacher from Michigan. 82, always loved crossword puzzles and French poetry. But after her husband passed away, her sleep became fragile, waking up 5-6 times a night. Within a year, she couldn't remember her former students' names, got lost driving to the pharmacy, even asked her son if his name was still Michael. He said, "Mom, you're scaring me." When doctors ran a scan, they found signs of early dementia, but more striking was the lack of deep sleep in her overnight study. Helen told me with tears in her eyes, "I thought I was just grieving. I didn't know sleep could betray me like that." But it wasn't betrayal, it was neglect. Her story reminds us that good sleep isn't a comfort, it's a rescue mission for the brain. Second, sleep supports a healthy heart and stable blood pressure. During sleep, especially the deeper stages, your blood pressure naturally dips. This gives your heart a chance to recover. But for seniors who suffer from fragmenté or shallow sleep, that dip never happens. Over time, it wears the heart out, like a car engine running nonstop. The American Heart Association even refers to deep sleep as nocturnal therapy. For the cardiovascular system, let me tell you about Walter, a 77-year-old jazz guitarist in New Orleans. Played every weekend until he started having dizzy spells and waking up soaked in sweat at night. His cardiologist did a sleep study and found out he had undiagnosed sleep apnea. His oxygen levels dropped dangerously low several times each night, putting huge strain on his heart. After starting CPAP therapy, Walter said to me, "Man, I feel like I can breathe through my dreams again. My music even sounds better." His blood pressure dropped, his energy came back, and most of all, he started smiling again. That's the thing, we think we're just tired, but sometimes we're running on a heart that never got its break. Third, sleep reduces emotional distress and restores motivation. Older adults who sleep poorly are more likely to feel hopeless, irritable, and disconnected. That's because sleep regulates our mood by balancing neurotransmitters like serotonin. Without rest, even small problems feel overwhelming. I met Clara, 81, at a grief support group in Boston. Her husband had died the previous year, and she told the room, "I just can't get out of bed. Not because I'm lazy, I'm tired in a way that coffee doesn't fix." Her sleep had fallen apart, light, anxious, full of dreams that woke her up in tears. After seeing a sleep therapist and starting light therapy in the morning, her mood slowly shifted. She began gardening again. She even brought fresh lavender to our next meeting. She said, "I thought I was depressed, but I was just drained." That's the lesson. Sometimes the darkest clouds in our mind are just shadows cast by sleepless nights. Fourth, sleep strengthens our immune system and lowers infection risk. At our age, the body's defenses already slow down, but poor sleep further weakens the immune response. White blood cells drop, inflammation rises, and healing slows. This is why sleep-deprived seniors catch more colds, recover slower, and are more prone to infections like pneumonia or UTIs. Let me tell you about Mrs. Green, a 78-year-old widow from Manchester. She used to be tough as nails, raised 5 kids and worked 2 jobs. But in her late 70s, she started catching every little illness. Her doctor noticed her lymphocyte counts were low and asked about her sleep. Turns out she had been waking at 4 a.m. every day since her husband passed. She said, "It's like my body forgot how to sleep in peace." After she joined a senior yoga group, got on a regular bedtime, and stopped drinking tea after 5 p.m., things changed. The next winter, she didn't get sick once. She laughed and said, "All it took was a mat, a stretch, and an early night." Who knew? We all should have known. Because immune strength begins under the covers. Fifth, sleep improves balance, coordination, and reduces the risk of falls. Now this one's personal for me. One of the greatest threats to our independence after 65 isn't disease, it's falling. A broken hip can take away your freedom in seconds. And do you know what increases that risk? Sleep deprivation. Studies show that seniors with poor sleep have worse reaction times, impaired balance, and slower reflexes. I'll never forget my neighbor Tom. He was 74 and walked every day. One night he couldn't sleep, stayed up watching old baseball games. At 6 a.m., groggy and stiff, he got up to feed his dog and slipped on the kitchen floor. Broke his pelvis. I visited him in rehab and he said, "One sleepless night and I lost 3 months of walking." That's the kind of price we don't think about until we pay it. Sixth, sleep regulates metabolism and helps control weight and diabetes. Most folks think sleep has nothing to do with blood sugar, but it's actually one of the key regulators. When we don't get enough rest, insulin sensitivity drops. That means your body doesn't respond well to sugar, leading to spikes and crashes. Seniors who don't sleep enough are also more likely to gain weight around the belly, which increases the risk of type 2 diabetes. I met Harold, 70, at a diabetes education class. He said, "I've cut carbs, walk every day, but my sugar's still up." His sleep? A disaster. Once he started sleeping 7-8 hours consistently, his morning glucose dropped, and he said, "I thought I needed a new pill. Turns out I just needed a pillow." That made the whole room laugh, but it's true. Metabolism isn't just what you eat, it's how you sleep. 7. Sleep enhances emotional connection and social engagement. This one is close to my heart. Seniors who sleep well are more likely to engage with friends, maintain relationships, and feel part of something bigger. Poor sleep, on the other hand, leads to withdrawal, isolation, and even feelings of being forgotten. I remember Jean, a retired school principal from Toronto. After retiring, she stopped sleeping well and slowly stopped returning calls, skipping church, even avoiding family visits. Her granddaughter finally sat down and said, "Grandma, I miss you." That moment broke through. Jean went to a sleep clinic, started using melatonin under guidance, and little by little, that's elderly wisdom, plain and simple. Now that we've seen just how vital sleep is, let's talk about something just as important: why so many of us seniors struggle to get it. Because the truth is, most people don't just lose sleep by accident. There are reasons, and if we don't understand them, we can't fix them. The first major cause is pain. Arthritis, back issues, nerve pain. These things don't clock out when the sun goes down. In fact, for many seniors, pain gets worse at night when the body is still and quiet. That's when every joint starts whispering, every nerve starts buzzing, and the body becomes its own enemy. Take Grace, 76, from Montana. Sweet woman, she used to quilt for hours, said it made her feel useful, even when the world stopped visiting. But the arthritis in her hands got so bad, she'd wake up crying in the dark. "I used to think it was just old age," she told me, "but it felt like the nights were punishing me for still being alive." Her doctor finally adjusted her pain meds, gave her a warm paraffin treatment before bed, and suggested a weighted blanket. Within weeks, she was sleeping through the night again. Sometimes it's not your mind keeping you awake. It's the body saying, "I need help." Second, medications can mess with sleep more than people realize. Many seniors are on 5, 10, even 15 prescriptions. Some of those, like beta blockers, corticosteroids, or certain antidepressants, can disrupt the sleep cycle. They might make it hard to fall asleep or wake you up in the middle of the night. Even over-the-counter meds, like decongestants, can wire you up. I remember Samuel, a 79-year-old retired postman from fit as a fiddle, but kept waking at 3:15 like clockwork. "I thought it was just the birds," he said. But it wasn't birds, it was his blood pressure pill, taken too late in the evening. His doctor moved it to the morning, and the change was instant. He told me sometimes the answer ain't meditation or lavender. It's just taking the pill at breakfast. That's a life lesson from the elderly. Don't be afraid to ask your doctor how your meds will fit your sleep. Small changes make a big difference. The need to urinate at night? What doctors call nocturia is a big sleep wrecker. For men, it's often an enlarged prostate. For women, bladder changes post-menopause. Either way, it means waking up 2, 3, even 4 times a night. That breaks up deep sleep, and after a while, you don't go back to the same restful stage. Clara from Alberta, 82, told me she'd wake up at 1, 3, and 5, always needing the bathroom. It's like my bladder runs the schedule now, she said, half laughing. Her urologist recommended cutting back fluids after 6 p.m. and adjusting her evening salt intake. She also started using a nightlight and kept warm slippers by the bed to make it less disruptive. After 2 weeks, she said, I still wake up once, but I fall back asleep. That's the win, and that's the point. It doesn't have to be perfect, just better. Every hour of unbroken sleep is healing. Worth anxiety and racing thoughts. Let's be honest, nights are louder in the mind than the day ever is. As we age, our minds don't just rest, they wander. We think about our kids, regret things we said or didn't say, worry about money, illness, losing independence. It's like your brain saves all its worries for bedtime. James, 85, a retired accountant from New Jersey, told me he'd lie in bed every night thinking about his will. What if I forgot something? What if my daughter doesn't know where the papers are? He got himself into a mental loop. Couldn't sleep, couldn't rest. His daughter finally sat with him, went over all the documents, and reassured him. They put a binder together. From that night on, he slept. I just needed to know everything was okay, for when I'm not here, he told me. Sometimes sleep doesn't come because peace hasn't arrived yet. Resolve what you can, write it down, and let your mind off duty. 5th, loneliness. This one's tough. Many seniors don't just sleep alone, they live alone. After a spouse dies or the kids move far away, the silence of the night can feel unbearable. It's not that they're wide awake, it's that their hearts are restless. Eleanor from Oregon lost her husband after 52 years of marriage. She said the bed felt like an ocean she couldn't cross. I'd lie there and reach over, still expecting his hand. Her doctor suggested she adopt a small dog, a senior rescue named Max. She also got a simple sound machine with soft nature sounds. It didn't replace her husband, but it gave her rhythm, company, and comfort. Now, she told me, when I fall asleep, I don't feel so alone in the world. That's the wisdom in elderly reflection. Sometimes what keeps you up is in your body or mind, it's in your soul, and it needs kindness. 6th, a lack of routine. As people retire, days start to blend. No alarms, no deadlines. That can feel nice at first, but over time it confuses the body's clock. Seniors who nap too much during the day or stay up late watching TV often disrupt their circadian rhythm. That's the internal clock that tells you when to sleep and when to wake. Without structure, the rhythm gets lost. Fred, a former truck driver from Kansas, said, after retirement, he'd fall asleep at 6 p.m. and wake up at midnight. Then I'd make a sandwich and watch old westerns till the sun came up. It made him feel sluggish, disconnected. His daughter helped him set a schedule: walk at 9, lunch at 12, no caffeine after 2, wind down at 8. It took time, but his sleep started to stabilize. Turns out the body likes a little discipline. He laughed. That's a life lesson too. Freedom without rhythm turns into fatigue. And finally, untreated sleep disorders like sleep apnea, restless leg syndrome, and REM behavior disorder. These are real medical issues, not just quirks of old age. Yet they often go undiagnosed because people assume poor sleep is normal after 65. But it's not. If you snore loudly, gasp in your sleep, kick the covers, or act out dreams, you need a sleep study. I'll tell you about David, a 74-year-old retired firefighter from Pennsylvania. His wife noticed he'd stop breathing for seconds at a time, then suddenly gasp awake. It scared me to death, she told me. He didn't even know it was happening. Turned out he had severe sleep apnea. With a CPAP machine, his sleep transformed. I feel like I'm back on duty, he said with a grin. Stronger, clearer, alive again. That's what sleep can do. Now let's talk about what actually helps. Because knowledge without action is just worry. And we've done enough worrying. I've spent years talking with seniors, doctors, and caregivers, and I can tell you this: sleep doesn't return with one miracle trick, but it does come back with small, steady changes, built on routine, patience, and self-respect. Let me share what I've learned from people just like us. The first key is creating a sleep ritual. Something simple and sacred that signals to the body it's time to rest. I'm talking about consistency. Same bedtime, same wake time, every single day. Agnes from Edinburgh, 84, told me she used to stay up watching British crime dramas until 2 in the morning. It made the nights feel less empty, she said, but her sleep was broken. Her mood suffered. Finally, she committed to a gentle bedtime routine. Chamomile tea at 8, reading poetry at 8:30, bed by 9. She said, I trained my body like I once trained my children, kindly but firmly. After a few weeks, her sleep improved. Not perfect, but deep enough to dream again. That's a lesson worth remembering. The body listens when we speak to it with rhythm. The second thing that works, exposure to morning light. Natural light resets our circadian clock, boosts mood, and helps the brain produce melatonin at night. I know it sounds simple, but for many seniors, especially those who stay indoors or live in cloudy places, it makes a huge difference. Take Arthur, 79, from Seattle. He'd been sleeping from 3 a.m. to 10 a.m., then napping half the afternoon. His daughter got him a light therapy lamp and told him to sit near it every morning during breakfast. After 3 weeks, he started getting sleepy around 10 p.m. and waking with more energy. He said, turns out I didn't need a sleep pill. I just needed a sunrise. That's elderly wisdom. Sometimes nature still knows better than medicine. The third habit is limiting daytime naps. A lot of folks nap out of boredom or fatigue, but long naps, especially late, her doctor suggested limiting naps to 20-30 minutes. No later than 2 p.m., she resisted at first. Said naps are my last luxury. But after adjusting, she found she could fall asleep more naturally and wake up feeling more refreshed. I traded 2 hours in the afternoon, she said, for 7 hours at night. I'd say that's a fair deal. And she's right. What we give up in habit, we gain back in wholeness. Another powerful tool, moving the body during the day. You don't need to run marathons. Just walk, stretch. Use light weights. Movement boosts serotonin, improves circulation, and wears out the body in the best way possible. Henry, a 77-year-old former baker in Chicago, started doing Tai Chi in the park every morning. After a month, he said, I sleep better when my legs have danced a little. It stuck with me. Rest comes more peacefully when the body has done something worth recovering from. Let's not forget food and drink. Caffeine, alcohol, and heavy meals before bed are all common sleep disruptors, especially for seniors. Diane, 75, from Toronto, loved her evening glass of red wine. Said it helped her relax, but she also woke up at 2 a.m. every night. Her doctor explained that while alcohol might make her feel sleepy, it actually fragments deep sleep. She cut it out, and her sleep steadied. I miss the wine, she told me, but I love remembering my dreams again. And here's one more tool, talking to someone. I can't stress this enough. So many of us lie awake with thoughts we never share. Guilt, grief, fear of dying, worry for our children, and all that weight builds up. But when you talk, whether to a counselor, a friend, or even through a journal, you release that pressure. Paul, 80, from Maine, started seeing a therapist after his wife passed. He said, I thought therapy was for broken people, but I realized I was just full of unspoken stories. After a few sessions, he slept longer. Better. The silence wasn't so loud anymore, he told me. That's a lesson we all need to hear. Unspoken pain becomes restless nights. So tonight, before you turn off the light, I hope you remember this. Sleep isn't just what we do when the day is over. It's how the body forgives itself, how the heart finds rhythm, how the mind lets go. In these later chapters of life, we don't need more noise or more pressure. We need peace. And sleep is one of the last honest kinds of peace we can still give ourselves. Freely, quietly, without apology. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you for listening, not just with your ears, but with your heart. These elderly reflections aren't just mine. They're shared wisdom from people like you. Seniors who've lived, loved, lost, and still want to wake up tomorrow with a little more hope. If this message resonated with you, I invite you to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell so you never miss a new story from the heart. And before you go, leave me a comment below. Where are you watching from? I'd love to know where in the world this message finds you tonight. Until next time, rest well and take good care of yourself.